your best bet. Watch me now with a wicked and wild, and I say, come with a funky style that gets us known for the show. And we'll fix a hip-hop figure if we say it is so. Fuck the naysayers, cause they don't mean a thing. Cause this is what style we bring.
Stomping at you like a herd of elephants. It's the Blue Elephant Brigade podcast with John, Philip, and Christy Aletky.
This week, we're going to be talking about Christy and her brand new small business owner that she is with her website. We'll be giving out the URL for here in a little while. We'll get into a little bit of talk about Hurricane Harvey and things that have been going on there in Texas. Turns out Christy lives in Texas, so she'll give her view from the Lone Star State, plus some other stuff that we know about going on there. We are glad to announce that Florida Man is at it once again. So, of course, we will be discussing Florida Man and his adventures. And we'll also be talking a little bit about the passing of legend Jerry Lewis, which just happened recently. How you doing, Phil?
Pretty awesome. You?
I'm doing well. Keeping busy. A lot of stuff going on around here lately. Just had started the trial run for my new podcast that's going to be kicking off last night. My D&D podcast I'm trying to do. So we ran through that last night real quick. That's been going on. I got a bunch of geek literature from a friend of mine who's working on moving, and so that he doesn't have to move all of his books, he's been trimming down a bit. So I got hooked up with some more D&D stuff, some Forgotten Legends, which is basically a way to put together a campaign real quick. Instead of having to figure all this stuff out, you just throw one together quick. And then he gave me an old, basically Forgotten Realms history book, an old campaign saying from a previous edition. So it's pretty cool stuff that I got from him, along with 24 books or something like that he gave me on top of it.
So is that like a framework for starting a game?
It's kind of the additional details beyond the core framework. So the way D&D is set up, there's always 3 core books for any version of D&D. There's the player's guide, a dungeon master guide, and a monster manual. And those are all you really need to not only be a player, but to run a whole campaign. And then they release a dozen books on top of that, just gives additional filler material for if you want to do anything else. And these would be under that filler material, both of them. So,
wow,
cool stuff though.
Like a lot of work that you're into. Are you still doing the goat yoga? I haven't done any more goat yoga recently. Unfortunately, we just did it the one time, so we haven't gotten back out there yet. You do have to pay for it, and it's more than we want to pay every week, or really even every month. So we'll probably go again at some point.
Goats. But there's baby goats. So
there are baby goats, and they're hella cute.
Oh my god.
Hella cute. Oh my gosh.
So if you start a small business on the side with adult goats, cutting grass for people with hillside land, and then use that money to pay for the goat yoga, which would be with baby goats, then you'd have goats all over the place.
This is true.
Thing.
You could also diversify your business. You have the adult goats for grass cutting, baby goats for playing with, old goats for butchering and eating. 3 markets cornered.
Here's the problem with baby goats. They don't stay little. And then you have adult goats. And adult goats are shitheads.
Sometimes. Really. There is the video out there of the goat terrorizing the town, which is actually pretty epic.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you're generating more baby goats every so often, then you can release the older goats into neighborhoods.
Wild?
Yeah, no, not the wild. Neighborhood.
I don't know how it's going to do here in Florida. We may have a surge in the alligator population, but I don't think we'll have a surge in the goat population.
Well, you have the alligators, and besides, it's Florida. I mean, come on. Is anybody really going to notice?
No. No one will notice.
Circle of life.
Did you guys know I'm a yoga teacher? Did you know that?
No. Hey, yeah, so we should probably give some background on Christy here before we get too far into this thing. So Christy is another member of the BEB, Blue Elephant Brigade. She was on the ship with us on the USS Theodore Roosevelt. She's a fellow veteran. You got to the ship back in 2001? 2001.
December of 2001.
December 2001, okay. Yeah, so a little while before I got there. Yeah, and she's all together, awesome person. She's also I'm going to say the wrong title for you, clinical therapist?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a licensed chemical dependency counselor and a registered yoga teacher.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that basically means, so functionally right now, I'm a therapist. I'm a therapist in private practice. I just left my job working for other people. I was the director of military programs for a place here in Austin called the Samaritan Center. And I left there at the end of July and started my own practice called Veritas Wellbeing here in Austin at the end of July.
Cool. Very cool. And if you want to find her online, if you happen to be in the Austin area in need of her services, you can go to ChristyAletky.com, which we'll also throw up on our website. So you don't have to try and figure out the spelling of her name. And
Tricky.
Yeah, you can go there and it'll be there. I mean, you spell it like it sounds, but still.
You do.
Yeah.
It's not tricky after you hear it once, but yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of consonants all kind of.
Yeah, they're all kind of like squished together and
An alphabet mashup.
So that's what I've been up to for the most part. Trying to think if there's been anything else going on. I don't think so, really. Yeah. Family stuff, the usual. Nothing too crazy. How about you, Phil?
Yeah.
You have any grand adventures this past week?
No, I tried not to.
I did find out I might be going to the Philippines for work. So there's that. It is more likely now that I'll be going to the Philippines for a few weeks.
Or as a project manager over, what was it?
For a power plant construction project, I may be going there as a project manager. So.
Very cool.
Yep. Yeah, very cool. I'm excited for that. I'm less excited about the 35 hours travel time it takes to get from Tampa to where I'll be in the Philippines. And about 20 to 25 of that is like flight time. So yeah, I basically lose 2 days on the way there.
Yeah, the longest trip I've ever taken was 22 hours, and only 12 of that was flight time. And that was rough for me. I know I basically had a hangover for about a day and a half.
Yeah.
When I flew from Virginia Beach to Bahrain, that was about a 24-hour evolution.
Yeah, that'd be about 24 hours. Yeah.
Was that for the military?
Mm-hmm. That's how I got to the ship. I got to fly onto the ship.
Wow, how was that?
Terrifying. And I was hungover because I was 20 and I could drink in Bahrain. And then I'd had a goat burger, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, there.
We didn't know we were flying out that night. And then, got on a cod and they missed the wire. So if you've ever been on an aircraft carrier, you've heard maybe that they go full throttle when they land, because if the tail hook misses the wire, they have to be able to take off again. So that happened. And then we flew back around and landed on the flight deck during flight ops. Yes.
Sounds adventurous.
I think those seats are pointing backwards. Is that true?
I don't think so, but you do have to wear a cranial, like the helmets, which, why? I don't know. And you do have to tuck, like you bend over and tuck your head between your legs when they go to land. But I'm trying to remember. I don't remember if the seats were backwards or not. It's been a long time ago.
And you were telling us what you're doing now. You were saying?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah. So I deal mostly with trauma. I have an area of expertise in trauma and the criminal justice system. So I spend a lot of time working in jails and prisons. And now I work with a lot of people on probation. I work with veterans that are members of what we call the Veterans Court, which is a specific court that was set up just for veterans who've gotten into trouble. I I work with something called EMDR, stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which is a treatment for trauma.
Interesting.
So I have pretty good results with that. And then I do some consulting with the Veterans Court and things like that. And then I also work about 10 hours a week in the cardiac rehabilitation unit at Seton, which is a complete departure and just something that is helping me transition. And they actually sent me out to California to San Rafael for a week to do an immersive training on their cardiac rehabilitation program. So it's been pretty interesting. So I
Very
do a lot
cool.
of stuff.
Apparently.
That
Very cool.
EMDR sounds it sounds technical. Could you?
EMDR?
Yeah.
EMDR is a protocol-based treatment for trauma, and it can be kind of technical. It's a very methodic way of going through traumatizing experiences versus just sort of let's spend 6 months talking about it and how sad you are and how it's changed things. It's a very sort of, okay, let's get in there, we set up targets, and then we do bilateral stimulation. So that can be like eye movements, or I have some things that are called tappers that basically you hold one in each hand and it'll buzz this hand and this hand and this hand. So any kind of bilateral stimulation that causes, it puts people in a mind state to be able to move through trauma without avoidance. Yeah.
Huh.
So, and it's an extremely high evidence base. It's one of the things when I started practicing, based, I think, on our backgrounds and what we all did together.
Right.
Like there's this very sort of warm, cuddly part of social work, which I like, but also I'm not really interested in having good intentions and not being effective. Like,
yeah,
I didn't get a master's degree to care about people. I got a master's degree to be extremely effective with people. So, yeah, it is a weird therapy, EMDR. It's strange, looking in, and I was resistant to learning it for a long time, but it does have a very strong evidence base. And then when I was working out at the prison, I had a client who a male client who experienced military sexual trauma, and had also experienced some other traumas. And I worked with him for months on this stuff. And he did one session with one of the therapists that worked for me out there named Owen, who was trained in EMDR, and really just cleared up a lot of trauma in one session. Not the military sexual trauma, that's going to require more work, but some stuff from before that. And it convinced me. He's really the reason I went and got the training after seeing that. So I practice.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I practice EMDR, and then I practice something called acceptance and commitment therapy, which has to do with mindfulness and understanding that your brain gives you messages that you don't necessarily have to listen to. So, if your brain's like, I'm so depressed, I can't get out of bed today. Like you can get out of bed. And you can thank your brain for giving you that message and ignore it. And do what you need to do in accordance with your values. So I practice that way as well.
Yeah, so pretty much all businesses are trying to develop some metrics so that they can measure everything that they're doing. Even like you think about risk management, and it used to be that people just discussed risks and what could happen, and then they used their feelings about these risks to develop a plan and evaluate how effective their choices were. But you start bringing quantitative measures into it, and you can see how effective your risk mitigation is. And you're doing the same thing, taking qualitative psychiatric solutions and quantifying it and being able to measure how effective. And so with feedback, every
everything gets more effective because you know where you stand, what you've accomplished with one method, and then if it doesn't work so well, then you try another method. So you're just increasing your effectiveness.
Yeah, it's hard to do with human behavior, and I think that at some point we have to admit that part of the magic of therapy is two human beings sitting together and talking to each other, and you're never really going to be able to measure that. And I think I think that being a therapist is kind of a pseudoscience. Like, we can only get so scientific with it. But to the extent that we can, I think that we should. And that, I'm a likable person. Guys like to sit in a room and talk to me. But that doesn't mean that they're changing or that they are necessarily getting the help that they need. So checking back in and going, yeah, I get it. You like to come here. It's nice and it's pleasant. But also, how is your life better when you leave here? And looking at that and measuring that is really, really important to me. Yeah, for my work. But the other interesting part about this and trying to measure that I think is interesting about therapy and even the kind of lifestyle hacks that are really happening right now and all those things is that we have to at some point admit that we don't know how any of this works. We don't know how the brain works. Not really.
Any of what?
Say again, Phil?
Any of what?
The brain. Like, we don't know what's actually happening when you have trauma in your brain. We have all these constructs for what we think is happening and metaphors that we can give you. And we kind of pretend like we think the brain operates like a computer, but we invented computers. So we don't even know if that's true. All we can observe scientifically about the brain is that when we do certain things, sugar uptake increases in certain parts of the brain. That's all we know. Like, if I'm really, really happy, certain parts of my brain light up. That's it. That's what we know. That's what we know.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was watching some TED Talk about neurology, and one of the things that they pointed out was that just for your brain to recognize that an object is moving to the side requires about 3,000 neurons firing, and even then, some of those neurons are saying that it's going the opposite direction. So, I mean, I don't understand enough about that to.
Yeah. So when people are like, well, when you do this with your eyes, how does it work? I don't know. I think having like a technical background myself, I have more respect for people being like, I don't know. They're trying to give me some bullshit explanation because they read it off the back of they don't know either. They don't know how it works. They just know that it does. Like, that's it. So what we call science today, 1,000 years from now, people are going to laugh at us the same way we laugh at shit like alchemy. Like, we just don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that we as humans we're always trying to describe the physical phenomena around us, and we get maybe better at it, or we think we get better at it. And, probably we do. I mean, we advance.
Yeah.
We definitely advance. But I think that we don't know what we don't know. And in 1,000 years, people are going to laugh at the idea that we tried to compare our brains to these rudimentary little computer machines that we made, knowing what they will know then, which is that our brains are infinitely more complex than that. I think we just don't know what we don't know. I think the scientific method is a much better way than whatever method underpinned alchemy.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a hunch method. Yeah, my hunch must be right. Yeah, and going from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a better place for us to base our inquiry and trying to learn and expand our knowledge base. But when I sit in these trainings, there are a lot of therapists that are very, very interested in neuropsychology and neurobiology, and I am too, especially with addiction. And understanding that everything we experience, all of our feelings and emotions and love, that's all physical. It's all physical stuff that's happening in our body. I'm fascinated by it. If I ever did a PhD, that would probably be it. But at the end of the day, there is like a pure fucking magic part to this. There's like inputs, something happens. All of a sudden, you're not afraid of Walmart as much as you used to. When I'm working with a veteran with PTSD, like I have more profound respect. And when I explain it to people, this is kind of how I do it. Because when I tell people I'm going to ask them to bring up an image in their mind and then to follow my fingers and know I'm not hypnotizing you, it's fucking weird. It's fucking weird. And it's
pretty crazy
to me before I learned how to do it. And so I explain it to people much this way. I'm like, the truth is I don't know how it works. I don't know. I don't know. And I can give them a million different metaphors. One of the metaphors I like for how it works is that traumatic memories are not stored correctly, and for many reasons. And it's almost like a memory that hasn't been digested. And when we digest a memory, we take out all the useful bits of knowledge, and then we just let the rest go. Whatever's not useful just goes. And that's how we store memory. And that makes sense. That's an interesting construct. And so the time when that happens, that memory storage happens, is during REM sleep. And when I have you follow my fingers, we're putting your brain into a state where it's in digestion mode. And we work through this difficult memory piece by piece and break it down so that it's not improperly stored anymore. And I love that metaphor, but let's be clear, that's a metaphor.
Yeah.
It's a metaphor. I love it. It explains the experience I've had with it, I think.
Yeah. And if somebody's not of a scientific mindset, then they're not going to question it. They'll just go along with it.
Well, right. And even with people that are not of us, I don't want anybody to believe that that's what's happening. You know, like I tell them, like, that's not actually what's happening, but that's a metaphor for kind of understanding what's going to happen. But your brain doesn't digest. You don't have like hydrochloric acid in your brain digesting your memory crystals. It's not a thing. It's not what's happening. But
at least it gives them something to latch onto and try to understand and
digesting your memory crystal. I like that.
Yeah.
That should be in science fiction. So that should totally be in science fiction somewhere. That there's a species that I feel like that's something out of it needs to be in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. There needs to be a species out there that has memory crystals that are digested by hydrochloric acid. Yeah.
So it's I think metaphors. I mean, because we're human beings, we speak in metaphor all the time. I mean, that's what language is. It's symbols for.
One, for teaching and explaining stuff to people is the best thing ever. I mean, I use examples all the time when I'm teaching people, because if you make something relatable, then they are much, much more likely to understand what the hell is going on. You try to explain an electrical circuit to somebody that just earlier today learned about what the hell an atom is, and they're going to have no earthly idea. But if I tell you that an electrical circuit is just like a piping system, everybody has pipes in their house, everybody has valves in their house, and so when I compare current to water flow, you know exactly what I'm talking about now. So one individual who has all the life skills he'll ever need? Florida man. He's moved on now, and he took part in the solar eclipse, it turns out. He got out there, he did his thing. Florida man watches solar eclipse and gets arrested. Coming from this one's actually from Time magazine. The authorities in Florida say an auto theft suspect who wanted to watch the moon blot out the sun instead has a blot on his record. Really, Times? Really? That's the pun we're going to go with for this one, huh?
That is hard-hitting journalism.
That's, wow, guys. Well done. Yeah. Anyways, it continues. The Orange County Sheriff's Office said on its Facebook page that Florida man was arrested Monday after he parked what deputies say was a stolen car to watch the eclipse. Deputies say Florida man stole the vehicle and, unbeknownst to him, was being followed by detectives with an auto theft unit. So apparently he picked the car that they had set out for Florida man to borrow. He was arrested next to the stolen car, wearing a welding mask and looking up at the sky.
Well, so, I mean, in the grand scheme of Florida man things, he was protecting his vision. And we need to positively reinforce good Florida man behaviors.
I am surprised by that part. I'm actually pretty amazed that he had a welding mask on while looking at the sun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's better than our president, really. So, you know, I'll give Florida man props there.
Yes.
However, still, stealing a car to go watch the eclipse, standing next to said stolen car, and getting arrested.
Here's the thing about stealing a car to see the eclipse. You can literally see the eclipse from anywhere.
Yes.
You don't have to get to the location to see the eclipse.
This is true.
That's one part of this story that I'm kind of like, Florida man, you could have just looked up.
This is what comes from a poor scientific education in high schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I would argue also a poor liberal arts education because there's some critical thinking that didn't happen.
This is true.
You know?
Well, if he had stolen the car to drive a few hundred miles and see the eclipse, like the totality, then I could understand that. But if you're just going to drive around in town and have the same view that you would at your house, then where's the benefit there?
Do you want to make sure we cover the Jerry Lewis thing or the hurricane, or you want to do a quick 10 minutes on those two?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jerry Lewis passed away on August 20th of this year. You know, he was certainly one of the main influences in my development of a sense of humor. You know, he was. I'm not saying that I base myself on what he did, but he was just good at being funny.
Yes.
And it wasn't all one-liners or any particular style. And I think the biggest influence was the Bellboy. You know, it's the movie where he did not have a line as the bellboy.
Okay.
And one thing that a lot of people forget to mention with when they say that he never spoke a line in the Bellboy, it's not completely accurate. As Bellboy, he never spoke, but he did have a cameo in his own movie as Jerry Lewis himself.
Wow.
And he acted like a normal person for being himself.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So I was trying to think back and figure out when the first time that I came across Jerry Lewis was, and the first time I came across him, it wasn't really him. The first memory that I have of him is Animaniacs and all the homages and parodies that they did of him in that show, where they mimicked his voice and his mannerisms. They even had a character that looked like him. I actually went back and checked because I thought it may have been him that played the character on Animaniacs, and it wasn't. It was just that they adored him so much that they wanted to have a character that was him on their show, and so they parodied him on their show multiple times as multiple different characters. So that was where I first came across that specific style and sense of humor they did. His, when he explains it to, there's a clip out there of him talking to, the Tonight Show host, the old one, not the Tonight Show, the Late Show with David Letterman, with talking to David Letterman, and how he models the way that he would react, and that really, really famous reaction of his. I'm not even going to try to imitate it. Of just that, the shifting voice and the high strung and all that. What you think of when you think of Jerry Lewis, after how a child responds when they are excited and happy. That's what he based that on, and he does it there on the show. He imitates his version of a child, getting a toy and reacting one way to it in front of people, another way by himself, and it's really cool to watch. The transformation just take place right there, a switch. It's pretty amazing.
You know how? Do you remember how he would say "pretty lady" in that high-pitched voice?
Yeah, I'm tempted to try, but I'm not going to try.
No, I don't do that, but I do say pretty lady to my girlfriend all the time because of because of that. I just, um, I think a lot of my relationship is based on little bits of humor, which in part came from watching Jerry Lewis movies.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I just recall him being a class act, and it's a different kind of humor than a lot of what we see now, obviously, and it's in that way refreshing. Like that you can be like not mean and shitty and also be funny. It's kind of nice, I think. And yeah, and then just not to mention the incredible humanitarian that the man was.
Right. Of course. Can't leave that out. He definitely did a lot of amazing things for a lot of people. So, I don't think we have any official way to like hat tip, people that we think are deserving of recognition yet on the show. We'll have to come up with something at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do elephants celebrate the dead?
They mourn them.
They walk back to their where the bodies were left.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I don't.
That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work very well in this situation.
Elephants are people too.
I don't know why I keep leaning forward to talk on my microphone, you guys.
I don't know either.
I've noticed that. Or you sound the same either way.
Stop judging me, Phil.
I'm not judging you. Just
want to do a good job.
So the last thing we wanted to touch on, guys, was we wanted to talk a little bit about the hurricane, what's been going on with that. So as we mentioned at the top of the show, Christy is actually a Texan. And she lives in Phil is too, but he doesn't live there anymore, so it doesn't really count. She does live in Austin, so I don't think. Have you had any direct experience with the hurricane, Christy? So
it rained here. We thought there was going to be a lot of flooding here. Austin does flood, and we have a house out east of Austin, out near the Formula One track, and the land around it floods. So we weren't out there, obviously. It rained for about 4 straight days here, and we thought it would flood here, but nothing like what they're seeing in Houston, and also just for our huge viewership, listenership, all the little towns south of Houston, like Victoria and Dickinson, and all the places along the coast, Corpus, Rockport, those cities are gone, like just gone. Beaumont now is really in a lot of trouble. No, I didn't directly have any serious repercussions, but
it's certainly devastating. It's been amazing to watch this unfold in the most heartbreaking way. Seeing all this go on. My brother actually, so Kroger, I guess, is sending people from all over the country down there to keep their stores open and running during this, so that I guess people. I'm sure part of it is business motivated, the fact they want to keep their stores going, but I think also a lot of it is that they're trying to keep supplies available for people that are still in the areas, and allow the people that are working there obviously can't get there right now. They have other stuff they have to deal with, so they're sending employees down there from all over the country. And my brother, I want to say he's like an assistant store manager, so he's actually just arrived in Dallas a few hours ago to help keep stuff running and stuff like that, so that people can help with the recovery basically in their own little way.
I think that all in all, with the rhetoric that's happening in our country right now, that I actually posted on Facebook. It was a much longer post, and then I edited it down. But I was like, what if we could just get, as Southern people, because I'm from the South, what if we had bronze statues that commemorate how well we take care of each other in times of crisis? That would be lovely. As opposed to some of the other things we choose to have monuments to. But I think everybody talks about how sad they are, and I think that's appropriate. But also, I'm really heartened because, like, nothing about this response of rednecks and bass boats heading to Houston surprises me. It doesn't surprise me at all. This is where I grew up. This is how I was raised. I think that the people of Texas and Louisiana and even Mexico, who in one breath says, we're sending you guys aid up through the Gulf of Mexico to our neighbors in Texas, I think it's just a nice relief to the rhetoric that's going on in the media right now. And I think the people of Texas and all of our neighbors, including Louisiana, just refuse to let Houston turn into a Katrina. Like, we just won't stand for it. It's not going to happen. And if our government's going to be stupid and slow and not respond to it, then we'll do it ourselves. We're just not going to allow it. It's not in keeping with our collective personality as Texans.
And there are plenty of other people outside of Texas who are trying to help also.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
There's
all kinds of aid programs going on. I know that for a fact. There's been a ton of donations, so that's always good.
The husband of one of my work friends is working with a group called Citizens Assisting Citizens, and they're trying to, provide help and money, and people are going down there to bring fuel and food and stuff and, everything. But also, they pointed out that there are a lot of people down there who are not going to have homes and no place to live. So there are people on this website who are offering rooms for people to go and live in the meantime while they're working on aid and everything else. So it's just
one cool thing about this is how much technology is really easing a lot of this, because, like, for instance, Airbnb within a day had created a way for people who have Airbnbs available to make them available to evacuees. So, like, you can log on to Airbnb and find a room. The amount of coordination via Facebook and just cell phones has been incredible. And the amount of private business that is really stepping in, is there a profit motivator? Well, sure. But I mean, I think there is, this argument of, if we're going to treat businesses like citizens, then they damn well better be good citizens. HEB is a local to Texas grocery chain, but it's also one of the biggest grocery businesses in the country.
Yeah, I've seen it other places.
It's
do you guys call it HEB, or do you call it
HEB?
Yeah. HEB, okay.
Oh, it's HEB.
Yeah, HEB.
Okay.
They're sending caravans down to the coast all the time to open up kitchens. They have trucks that convert to kitchens. They have groceries. We sent one of our buddies down to Beaumont. We gave him gas money, and he filled his car up with bleach and cleaning supplies and headed to Beaumont this morning. So it's just a lot of private citizens all over the country kind of rallying. And I see things on Facebook like Texas voted for Trump, so fuck them. And I'm like, you?
Yeah, it's so fucking shitty. Like, I'm no fan of Trump. Anybody knows me knows that for sure. But that's just shitty as hell.
Well, the people that would say things like that are the people that were too stupid to see the writing on the wall in the first place. Anybody who's surprised by the election of Trump was not paying attention and is probably a very privileged person, including myself. Myself, I think, because it's not surprising.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a whole different, definitely a whole different topic that we could get into, like, the people, like, because I know perfectly rational individuals that were amazed that Trump beat Hillary and couldn't understand the fact that, yeah, Trump may have been the most hated politician in the history of America, but you know who's number two? Hillary. And so there's a reason that Trump was able to beat Hillary. But anyway, that's a whole different can of worms.
But I think just the way the country has come together for us down here is beautiful. I think it speaks more to how person to person we're not nearly as divided as the media would have us think, and politicians certainly would have us think.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that it's all in all, my heart goes out to people who are losing everything, but also I have this just sense of pride in the way we're all coming together. I am a big fan of how much attention Mattress Mac has gotten for, if you're not familiar with that, he owns furniture stores in Houston, very high-end furniture stores. He has since the 80s.
Okay.
And he's kind of a local celebrity, and he just opened up his stores and the warehouses in the stores.
Okay, I'd heard about that. I didn't know who it was exactly, but I'd heard about it.
So this is a man, you want to talk about capitalism. He makes no argument. So like Joel Osteen's a capitalist.
Right,
he doesn't want anybody to know.
Doesn't own up to it. Never mind the fact that he's worth like $68 million or some shit like that.
Mattress Mac is a capitalist. He's been very successful, and this is not the first time he did this. He did this when Katrina happened as well. But maybe Ike. I forget. He's done it before. But yeah, you've got these people just chilling on the. He's like, and he even said it. He's like, we'll have a Harvey liquidation sale after this is over.
Yeah.
And if any of the furniture that we can't use as floor models anymore, we'll sell. And
yeah.
People will buy them, and it's no big deal. I mean, why be in business if why be in business if we can't take care of our community? So
yeah, can't take care of the people around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is awesome seeing everybody come together down there and all the good that's being done. And hopefully Florida won't be next on the list because Irma is cruising towards the East Coast now. So we'll see what happens with that.
I'm just glad there's no such thing as climate change.
Yeah. There's no more energy out there in that system at all. It doesn't seem like it. I don't know. I'm sure. Yeah. Huh.
But no, we're doing great. We're doing great in Texas. Cool. We're not doing great, but we're going to be great. It's going to be terrific.
You guys will be good.
It's going to be fantastic. Bigger than it's ever been before.
Another episode of our podcast here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to it. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Twitter, we're at BEB Podcast, BEB Pod. Make sure to check out Christy's website, ChristyAletky.com. Throw some business her way.
Christy, ChristyAlety, as in Tom, KY, .com.
There you go. And Christy, thank you for being our guest on this. Thanks as always to our editor, Dave Smith, who will be throwing this thing together for us.
He has a lot of work to do with this episode.
Yeah, make it easy. And Phil, thank you again, as always, for being here with me, man. You got anything to throw in at the end here, Phil?
No, it's just been fun. And it's been great seeing you, Christy, again. Thank you for coming on.
See y'all's faces. I like it.
Good seeing you guys. Yeah, we'll talk to you guys later.
I came in like a hurricane. I never blew so hard before. All I wanted was to flood your town. All you ever did was evacuate.